Hi, my name is Chris Laurent, and I work for a company called Cinnaire. My job title is President of Cinnaire Solutions. Cinnaire Solutions is the real estate development subsidiary of Cinnaire, and our offices are based in Madison, Wisconsin, where I work. Corporate offices are in Lansing, and we have offices throughout the upper Midwest and Mid Atlantic states, specifically in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Delaware, and we do a little bit of work in New Jersey, Camden. The company for about 6 years, a little over 6 years. I started as a business development person where I would match capital, mainly equity, with real estate development deals. So I had a relationship with real estate developers, and we would try to find the best fit for the work that they were doing with the money that we had to make affordable housing work. I've been in this industry for probably 25 years or so. I actually have a bachelor's of science degree in zoology, and was pre-med for a long time, and decided that medicine wasn't really for me, but I really liked solving problems that had a real impact over people's long-term lives. So real estate development really resonated with me. There's probably no greater opportunity that you have to make an impact on somebody's life than to provide housing for them. And so many things in our world right now really rely on having adequate housing. It's hard to focus on education or health or just well being, connectedness with your neighbors, with community, if you don't have a decent place to live. So I started doing that in 1998. I worked for a real estate development company before that, and the affordable housing aspect really worked for me. It's complicated to do this work. We're working in neighborhoods that have, to a large extent, been left behind. And so it requires special communication, special tools. There are programs that the federal government runs through the states that provide affordable housing options in them. But it really is rewarding work. On a daily basis is to lead a team of 10 other people. We have work folks called development managers whose job it really is to take an idea and make that reality. So in Michigan, we're working right now on a development in Lansing and working on several developments in the city of Detroit. And the first thing that we really have to practice is good understanding and listening skills. So we try to go into communities with a lot of sort of openness and modesty and listen to what their concerns and challenges are. We also work closely with the mayor's office and his city staff, Mayor Duggan, to try to fully understand what the challenges are and how we may be able to solve those problems through development. So it's easy to just build widgets or buildings, but we like to try to think of the experience of the people living in those and how does that work on a day-to-day basis. Are there things in the hallways, for example, like art, that might influence the way that they think or behave, or maybe provide aspirations for a young person to become an artist someday? All those parts of the environment have a big impact on making people feel honored and respected and a part of their community. So when we come up with the idea, often working with neighborhoods where the neighborhoods would say, we would like housing for families and we'd like park space nearby and maybe the opportunity to grow vegetables on site, have community gardens, maybe a business center, amenity spaces inside the development, and create opportunities where our kids and families can get together and have potlucks. We try to put all those ideas on paper and present a plan. It costs a lot of money right now to do real estate development, in some cases as much or more than it costs to build single family houses. Particularly when we're working in really challenged areas, we may have to take down existing buildings to do what we're proposing to do. But in the long term, we get better efficiency out of taking design and tackling it that way, and can really transform neighborhoods. We put together our plan and submit that often to the state for primary financing resources. That provides a good chunk of the money, as do local banks. But there's a lot of coordination and communication that takes place on a daily basis. So I rely a lot in my world on technology. I have an iPhone, and I check that at probably 7:30 in the morning to get some sense of what the issues of the day might be. Probably make a couple phone calls to my team members and ask if they need any support, and pull a lot of time, spend a lot of time pulling together a lot of information from different data sources, because I'm accountable to a board, both Cinnaire, our parent organization's board, and my own Cinnaire Solutions board. And we report on progress. We tell folks if there are bumps in the road that we have to anticipate. There's never enough money to do what we're trying to do, so we're constantly looking for new sources of financing and trying to educate people on what we're trying to do. Our developments often tell a story, and we may be trying to solve a problem that's broader than just housing. So if we have a job training center on board, or in Lansing right now, we're combining housing with some incubator space right now for people who may have been operating kitchens physically out of their kitchens or garages. Now they have an opportunity in East Lansing at the Allen Neighborhood Center in a community called Allen Place to be able to produce kind of that next level of food preparation in a commercial kitchen. So we try to put together all those stories, and so the folks on our team are really good at using communication through pictures, through architects, engineers, to be able to put on paper what that story is, and then identify the problem we're trying to solve, which again largely is money. And so when we're able to put together enough money or capital together to do what we're intending to do, we will close the real estate transaction, which means everybody commits to putting their money in, though it doesn't all come in on day one. It's usually staggered throughout time. And then we monitor the course of construction. So that process usually takes about a year to get in, dig in the ground, and put foundations in, and then build the structure, often with wood, and put the windows in, finishes, drywall, carpeting, and appliances. And then about a year after we start construction, we start making the opportunity open for residents to live there. We've been blessed, I think, in the pandemic, being able to work at home. I spend a lot of time in a normal environment when I'm not in the office. My office is in downtown Madison, which is sort of like downtown Lansing, where we have a area around the Capitol called the Square, and our office is down there, so we can walk to restaurants. Very pleasant space. I share that before pandemic with one other person. Now we've made some hires since then, so we'll have two other people in our office, and it's great to have a team of people I enjoy being with around me. I've been able to work on some very innovative projects in my career. I did the first development or first building in a redevelopment of the Pabst complex that makes Pabst Blue Ribbon beer in Milwaukee. Milwaukee, as you may know, is beer city, and we repurposed the former keg house where they used to fix the kegs and fill them with beer, dating back to the sort of mid to late 1800s. Repurposed that into 100 units of housing for artists and entrepreneurs. So got to work on some great historic buildings. Talked about the Darlington Development we're working on in southwest Wisconsin. In Detroit, we're working in some great neighborhoods. One right now, right across the street from Little Caesars Arena, working with the Little Caesars pizza folks, who have a company called Olympia Development that will give opportunity for people who don't make a lot of money to live really close to downtown. That's important because it's great to get people who have limited means and may not have a car and have to rely on public transportation or their feet to get to work. So it puts people close to areas of employment. You're thinking about becoming a real estate developer, some of the things to think about at this point in your career. Again, good math skills. We use some algebra, I suppose, no calculus, which is something I didn't do well at college. But one of the things, interestingly enough, just having a background in biology and zoology, is classification. So can you look at something and be able to tell, what is similar and what's different and what would apply and what wouldn't? I think those are good critical skills. There's also a lot of programmatic work, whether you're doing affordable housing development like I do or market rate development. There are a lot of nuances and a lot of written communication through zoning codes, through procedures, through some legal interpretations, and being able to negotiate and understand those would serve you well. One thing you could do if it's not too late is take forensics. I was a forensicator, which is something we kind of jokingly called when I was in school. And that really got me to think about what I was saying, to be able to speak crisply, to avoid things called verbal pauses, the ums and ohs, say what you mean, and be able to speak with authenticity and clarity, and that will serve you well as well. I was able to work in my career with a fella who would take a Socratic method of teaching and training, which is to say that we would get out and look at buildings, and he would say, "What do you see?" And I would explain what I saw, and we would talk together about how things like trash enclosures worked or how the window spaces looked. And I think that really served me well. So those sorts of things, looking and being curious and asking a lot of questions and recognizing that you never really stop learning, those are things that I think are great traits of being a real estate developer. Thanks for your time.